Good morning. I hope everybody that listens got plenty of presents. It's that time of the year that peoples of the north gather in families, in tribes, in communities, and they share gifts. I suppose this tradition, this spiritual tradition developed because of the geographics, the climate, the seasons, right? We are in the beginning of winter, and communities share what they have with each other so they can survive until spring, right? It's not by mistake or by coincidence that the spirit of sharing develops. It's also not by coincidence or by mistake that technology also developed in the glaciated areas. People just had to think, plan ahead, develop techniques, technology. Technique is the same word for technology, it's just a technique to innovate, to do something different, to turn things more comfortable, you know, so that things last longer, etc. Anyway, I was reading a little bit. It got me thinking about hormones. Yeah, hormones. Something almost nobody studies hormones. Yes, people, talk about testosterone, dopamine, estrogen. They talk about, these main hormones, but what about the others? Yeah, nobody talks about them because I'm of the opinion that hormones is what rules, it's what controls the psychophysical, the body, and the brain. It's hormones, you know. It's not DNA or what's it called, genes. No, I don't think so. It's hormones. Everything is controlled and ruled by our hormones. And hormones, um, they are produced by organs, such as the pineal gland. It's an organ that secretes hormones, and those organs around our throat that I can't remember right now. They also secrete, of course, our sexual organs also secrete hormones. Hormones are secreted mostly everywhere. They help regulate your mood, they regulate your thoughts, your emotions, your mood, your perceptions. Yeah. And hormones, they require energy. Their main source, you know, is fat, unsaturated fat or saturated fat. You will find it in the omega 6, omega 3s, or in the saturated fat from animals, ghee, you know, etc. Butter, etc. Bacon, etc. Eggs, they're also a good source. The yellow, the yolk, the yolk of the egg, it's also very, very good source. Of course, don't forget fish. Sardines and oysters are the best choice, for the other omegas, you know. And I suppose if you have a good source of those fats, that you will grow, and the body will express itself to the fullest. Yes. I read this book, the best peoples in which the body's expressed itself to the fullest were those that lived near water. So, around the ocean, more precisely. Yeah. It was the peoples in which their bodies developed, and they were peaceful peoples, very community centered, very peaceful. very intelligent, very wise. The other way around, when you get peoples that are aggressive and stupid, they are more criminal, more violent, impossible to reason with. Those lack, definitely, in my opinion. I mean, they made an experiment in a jail. They fed the people there. They fed them a nice, balanced diet, and the violence and aggressivity diminished like 80%. I simply give them the right food, right? So that hormones can regulate everything properly. Civilization sometimes goes into the extremes, and I think it has to do with the food supply or some food customs that people develop, cultural customs, and you see them. You see the pendulum swinging to the extremes. For instance, the modern woke people, yeah, they are totally dysregulated. They are not very easy people to be around. They're always being offended about everything. And every time someone opens their mouths, they find it offensive and hateful, right? They find everything offensive and hateful. But if the pendulum swings to the other side, right, to a more um, fanatic side, uh, like oh, what's the expression? Those guys that are religious fanatics. The can't remember right now. Um, they find speech to be blasphemous, for instance, or when someone takes a position that doesn't conform to their worldview, they say it's a treacherous position or a treacherous person. It's a treason speech or blasphemous speech, you see, when the pendulum swings to the other side. And in both of the extremes, they are unable to find a calm, the soft spot between the extremes, that place of calmness, that place of inertia, where most people, where most wise people are, you know. So I think it has a lot to do with the hormones. Anyway, the peoples who think everything is blasphemous, the zealots. There you go. I remember it. It's the zealots. The zealots. They have this pantheism. They have this inclination towards pantheism. They see their deities as having a body and living in a place, specific place, sometimes made out of clouds or sometimes made out of burning things. These zealots, they are pantheists. They can't imagine that the deity could be impossible to describe. You see, because it's impossible to describe, they can't wrap their heads around it. So for them, it doesn't exist. It couldn't exist. You see, it's an obsession of certain people, to know everything. They want to know everything. They're not okay with saying, I don't know. It's not, it's impossible to measure. It's impossible to know. It's outside our reach. We just can't know. They can't say that. They are incapable of saying that. So they developed this thing called pantheism, which the deity is something or someone they can point their finger, something or someone that can be measured, and they live in a specific place that you can visit. You know, it's an attempt, at bringing, you know, what is unmeasurable and unthinkable, trying to bring it to the material world, you know. So these zealots, they often, you know, are the types who are into the blasphemy thing, you know, if you don't agree with them. Anyway, hormones, you know, is what controls everything, in my opinion. All right, tell me what you guys think, and Happy New Year.